right, everyone. So this is my first ever episode of my podcast. I watched a video yesterday and it really resonated. He said, I forget his name, I saw it on TikTok, and he said, in order to get better at public speaking and storytelling, two things that I am actively trying to work on, he said the best way to improve is to make a podcast. And the rules were super simple. Just block out an hour a day and film. No edits, no scripts, and just effortlessly talk. And that's something that I felt like a weight had come off my shoulder. It was almost like he gave me permission to do something that is actually really terrifying for me. Straight away, I thought about how I'm actively always in my head, even just right now, right? But in every interaction that I have with people in my life, whether it's new people or my friends or family, lovers, I am constantly overthinking and I'm constantly planning what I'm going to say in my head before I say it, because I want to be perceived well, I want to be liked, and I don't want to feel stupid, or like I want to appear a certain way to someone that I'm trying to impress, right? And it's exhausting. It's so exhausting. And I think that is one of the biggest reasons why I haven't started a YouTube channel whatsoever. Or the ones that I have started, it was so heavily scripted, and it was like I became really fearful of talking because I didn't want to mess up my script, and every video I've ever done just felt really inorganic. And this is why I'm doing it, and it feels already so good to not be afraid of whether or not this is going to be resonant with someone, or if people are actually going to even see it. I don't care. Genuinely, I don't care, because this is actually for me. I want to get better at getting out of my own head and getting out of my own way and allowing myself the freedom to speak my truth in my mind whenever, whatever I feel. And it's liberating, because I'm not going to edit any of these. I'm just gonna let it run. And it just feels good already. And so I'm really grateful for that opportunity yesterday to see a video where it was almost like a homework assignment, and it was just the one I needed. Because, okay, listen up. So I had an interview today, right? I had an interview for a company that I really want to work for. And I was preparing for this interview, trying to anticipate her questions, the typical way that I think a lot of people prepare for interviews. And it's, to anticipate their questions and to come up with answers. And when I do that, it's heavily scripted, and it doesn't sound natural or organic, and it doesn't feel real, And today, the first interview was actually through the phone. So I tend to take notes on my laptop during interviews or on a piece of paper. And I did make the mistake of having my notes up and occasionally just looking at it to sound more, to have my answer be more crafted, and I definitely tripped myself up a bit, and I can feel myself being less authentic. So I quickly closed the laptop down and just did the rest of the interview with no notes. And I didn't intend to use my notes anyways. I wasn't trying to cheat, but I feel like there's this huge part of me that is so unwilling to let go. I'm willing to let myself be seen fully, to be received fully by other people. And I put on a big front. It's something that I'm so used to doing, and I so deeply want to be liked so much that I'm sacrificing the realness of myself. And the irony, of course, is when I am trying to be like my perfect self, or I'm crafting stories and responses and conversations first in my head before actually saying it, it loses the spark of the moment. It's inorganic, and it doesn't feel real. And as a result, I'm not real. And I genuinely feel and think and believe that people can tune into that, you know? Even if they're not actively or consciously aware that that is what they're picking up on. Yeah. So this is my practice already. This is so awkward. It's like, it's so awkward, but I'm here for it, and I'm gonna be in it for a little bit. So, all right, now that we've got that out of the way, more topics of today's podcast. So we touched, I had a really good friend called me earlier before I went on my run, and her name's Chelsea. We met in Maui. And you know, the really cool thing about this relationship is how we met. And it was back in 2019. We both were living on the island of Maui, and we were living in this vegan community. It was a permaculture farm with over 20 something people, and I was invited to spend 3 to 6 months there learning how to grow food, and it was a really interesting experience because I knew what I needed at that point. Oh my god, okay, so I'm a terrible storyteller. I'm so bad at it. I was talking about my friend Chelsea, and then it's just like it goes into this deep, like, wormhole of a story, and it just isn't succinct. It's almost like I don't know what the fuck I'm trying to talk about, and that's frustrating to me. And that's why I feel like I need to plan things out, you know? But I digress. All right, so I was having conversation with my friend Chelsea. I think the whole point of this, by the way, is to learn what pieces of information, what are the components and the framework that makes a really good story, right? And I guess I'll just learn along the way, because right now first off, I don't know what my point is. I was just going to tell you about our conversation. This is so embarrassing. I'm gonna have to post this, and I can't edit any of this out. All right, sorry y'all. Okay, so had a conversation with my friend Chelsea, and what did we talk about? Why was this important? Oh my god. I'm not doing. Okay, a couple technical difficulties. All right, so I did have a couple topics I wanted to talk about, and it derived from the conversation I had with my friend Chelsea. So 2 things that really came up for both of us. There was this theme of the importance of developing self-awareness, and developing self-awareness, what I mean by that is really getting to understand who you are, how your mind works, what your thoughts are like, what your feelings and preferences to experiences, people, things, places, what your own unique, personalized preferences are to things, what you like, what you don't. Because when you are able to hone in, even if you just get to know what you do like, you begin to develop an understanding of what you don't like as well. And the importance of both, having an understanding of both, allows you to be more particular about what you allow in your life and what you're going to spend your energy on, and essentially, if what you're spending your energy on is rich and fulfilling, and when I say rich, I mean like fulfilling, right? Meaningful, deep, connected, makes you feel alive, and you feel this reciprocity of energy, right? So when we become self-aware of our own individual personalized preferences, then we are sharpening like our intuition and our judgment and our ability to have good judgment around people, places, experiences that we're bombarded with throughout our lives. You know, there's like almost 8 billion people. I think it's like 7.8 billion people on this planet, right? There's infinite potentiality for experiences, and you know, there's so many different places, like our external reality, there's just so many different combinations of things that we can be presented with, right? And it is impossible to live a normal human life filled with every single one of those experiences, right? So it's up to us to be able to discern what is for us and what is not, right? And what we don't ultimately end up wasting time and energy on things that don't actually bring us fulfillment or joy or bliss or confidence or just anything that makes us feel fulfilled, you know? So that was something really that was what I gathered from this conversation I had with my friend Chelsea. And I love my friend Chelsea for a lot of reasons, but one of the biggest reasons is that we've kept up a relationship over the phone for almost like 3 years now, and I have only really seen her 2 or 3 times since we both left Maui, which was over like 2 years ago. And she's one of the very few people so far in my life that I can count on to be really inquisitive about our experiences in life, and to interpret our experiences, and grow from them. And I find a lot of joy with her to be able to share our life experiences through the lens of like, okay, what did we learn from this experience? How do we want to move forward? And it's always in this I love talking to friends where, you know, they present me with a situation in their life. Maybe it was like really difficult and hard, but they'll usually, you know, they'll think about what that experience meant to them by themselves. You know, they'll do the work of sitting with it and processing, and then and getting insight from it. And then we talk, and it's almost like this beautiful story that they've laid out of like, this is what happened, this is how I felt, and this is what I did in order to learn and grow and embrace whatever, right? And I don't know, like, there's beauty in all types of different relationships, right? If like not to say that I only want my friends to do that, right? I am always trying to be present for friends, to, you know, be a to be there for them, and to listen to what they're going through, and to help them move through their process. I think where I personally feel energetically drained is if I have people in my life who will talk about things repeatedly and then make no effort to do things differently, or are just not open to hearing feedback of, okay, well, where do we want to move forward from here? How can I help you? Like, what can I do, if anything? You know, like, how can I support you in this journey moving forward? Because I don't want to just hear about complaints. That is something I've learned, and to tie it back to, you know, preferences, individual preferences. I've learned that what energetically drains me is having friendships and people in my life who use our relationship as a way to just vent and complain, and to share tidbits of their lives, and not really do anything with it. You know, like, I'm in a space now where I want to see us thrive. I want to see us grow. I want to see us be empowered and in love and excited and in creation, and just excited about life, you know, and about pain, and to transform all of that, you know. And not in like a toxic positive way. Like, I'm here for the rough, you know, I'm here for like the deep wounds and the sadness and like all of that. I'm here for it. I think all I really want to see, like, what shows me that like there's effort, is just the desire to become more aware. For a lack of a better term, like, how can we be more aware of our experiences, and how can we, like, what are we going to do about it? I guess that's like my way, and it's not, you know, it's not everyone's way, and that's okay, you know. And that's why I think it's just so important for everyone to have their own preferences, and become self-aware of what lights them up, what fulfills them, what fills their cup, and what drains them, what doesn't fill their cup, what empties them, you know. Like, we gotta give to things that are giving back to us. And yeah, it's just becoming aware of what those things are, and to also overcome any feelings and, you know, mind stuff, thought patterns, beliefs that we're bad people if we set boundaries, or if because that's essentially what it is, you know. Preferences are similar, akin to boundaries in my eyes. And I think oftentimes there's a sense of guilt that arises within an individual when we state our preferences, our wants, and our needs. And if that first, you know, and if that person, or whether it's a friend or a romantic partner or even, you know, family, if there's an unwillingness for compromise, or if it's like, if it's just literally not a compatible match, you know, like, I'm stating what I need. If you're unable to give me that or meet me nearby, then we can walk away from this partnership or friendship or whatever it is, you know. And it doesn't make us bad people, because you know what, there are, again, just billions of people out there that are actually meant for us and who can give us everything that we want and need, because it doesn't feel like that fills them up, you know, and what we have fits what they want and need, and it fills us up, and it's just this beautiful mutual symbiotic relationship, and it takes like, and it just takes trial and error sometimes. That's all it is. And it's taken me so long to learn this and to like feel really powerful and confident in knowing these things, you know. And that's where a lot of my strength and my power and my confidence has come from. It's from knowing who I am. It's from being aware of what I like and what I don't, and then having the bravery to speak that out, and having the emotional intelligence developed to not be to not take rejection personally if it happens, you know, and to still stand my ground when I ask for what I want and need, and if the answer is, oh, I can't do that, or I'm unable to give that, or I'm unwilling to give that, then to be firm in the okayness of letting it go, you know, because that's the second part, you know. It's all connected. It's all connected, and there's like all these little things that takes time to develop, and sometimes it doesn't even feel like any of this is connected, but and I guess in my life I've learned all these different little things in like across all of these different years, and one day I guess it all comes together somehow, some way, and it might not seem like it. It really might not, and I oftentimes still doubt, you know, but I don't stop. And I think that's the most important thing too, is to remain diligent, remain disciplined in the practice of self-awareness, because it only benefits you in the long run, and everyone else that comes into contact with you, it benefits them. And like, what the fuck else are we here for, you know? This is our life. We have one, and we get to learn, we get to grow, we get to figure things out. And yes, it might take fucking forever, but what else are we gonna do? What else are we gonna do, you know? you can only chill by the beach for so long and have vacations, you know, and have all the fun times. You can only do that for so long. You got to fill your life up with other things, you know, and find meaning in all of this hard work, because it's to our benefit. It's to our benefit. That was a long-ish rant. This is kind of fun because I'm not like scripting anything. I'm not worried about what am I gonna say. I think something that is coming through for me, like a message that might resonate with other people, is stop doubting yourself. Fucking stop doing it. And you're often more prepared to do something than you think that you are. And sometimes there's a thing such that oh my god, what am I trying to say? There is such a thing as over preparation, because you're getting in your head when you do that, and it doesn't come off real. It doesn't come off authentic, and it doesn't even feel good, you know? Like, this is the first video I think I've ever made where I'm like, whoa, I feel good. I feel aligned. I'm sitting by the beach in my car. I'm watching all these beautiful people walk by me, and you know, it's a perfect sunny day. Sun's in my eye. I can't see myself, so if I'm I have no idea what I look like right now. But yeah, I guess this just falls into the theme of like letting go too, you know, let go of that tight grasp you have on life, and like this need to control outcomes, and so just start doing things that like actually feel good for your soul, you know, that actually feels aligned, and you're getting out of your head. You're not worrying about how you sound, what you're saying, if it makes sense, if it resonates, if it's gonna, you know, I don't have to worry about marketing and SEO and planning and you know, making sure I say health and wellness and you know, or like mindset, and like get all the keywords in there and whatever, you know. I'm fully trying to like tap into this. Like, haven't felt this so powerfully in a very, like, ever. This powerful, deep knowing that, you know, you could prep all you want, you can do all the things that will, you know, on the outside, like you can plan, you can try and make campaigns and you know, do all the marketing stuff or whatever, but if you're not coming correct with your energy, and if you're not bringing your true and full self to, you know, whoever it is you're trying to connect with, anybody, you know, whether it's online or in person over the phone, because I work in sales, you know what I mean? So it's like I am constantly trying to align my energy to the other person, you know, and even when I'm using a script, I'm trying to make it as natural and organic as possible, and like to come correct with my energy, because that's what they're feeling and hearing and seeing first and foremost, you know. And yeah, like, and of course, like, I don't know what I'm trying to say right now, but I feel this connection to this process right now, which is to be more free, to let go, and to trust that I know what I'm doing, to trust that the right people will come be drawn to what it is I'm doing, and also to just do things for me because it is something I want to express. And it could literally simply be just that. It could be, and this is what artists do, you know, hardcore artists, they don't, the ones that really become successful and loved and like so well received by fans and the public are the ones that just, there's something deep within them that they just have to express. You know, it doesn't matter like if one person hears it or a million people hear it. To them it makes zero difference as long as it gets out there and somebody hears it. You know what I mean? And that pureness, that raw pure energy is the secret magic sauce, you know? It's the secret, it's the magic, and that's, you know, the, yeah. Mm. I'm curious. I'm curious about what people are feeling right now in the world. If like how many I there's something that I'm intuitively picking up right now, and I feel like there's a lot of us out there who may feel, I'm intuitively picking up that there are a lot of people who feel that they're not being heard in partnership or friendships. I feel like there's a lot of people out there who, excuse me, who are being talked over and are being overshadowed, and they're allowing themselves to stay in that space of I suppose staying connected to people that don't really have a regard for how they're doing. You know, they're not really being asked questions about their lives or about how they're feeling, or, you know, they're not really, like, I just have this sense that there's so many people in the world right now who feel alone because they don't feel like, you know, other people care to know about them. And if that resonates with you, I do have a question. I want to know, how deeply involved are you in other people? You know, like how much are you doing any question asking? Or are you sharing yourself? Are you just sharing yourself, like, you know, kind of like how I'm doing right now? You know, like, and because this is a video, it's like hard for, obviously, to have like a two-way dialogue, but I do want to pose this question of how confident are you in question asking and your ability to, you know, move conversation forward? Because I think for myself personally, it took me years to realize this, but I never felt heard, right? I grew up in a household where I never felt heard, and I never felt like there was interest in what I'm doing, you know, who I am or what I'm doing. My parents never asked me questions, you know, and that set this precedent of how I also interact with people. You know, we sort of move through the world, learning from the people closest to us, and then that's what we have to work with until we learn better, you know, until we learn like, oh, you know what, this isn't working out for me, and until we figure out like, oh, maybe this is the reason why I'm having these sorts of issues in my life. And so, like, long story short, I put all that together later on in my life of like, okay, I don't feel heard in my relationships with partners or even friends. I feel like there's like this like disconnect between us, not just a disconnect, but like a connection is never even fully formed, right? And there's like this lack of emotional intimacy, and it makes sense because that's kind of the, you know, up until things have started to shift with my parents, well, at least with my mom, in the recent years, but that came from a lot of work that I put in, you know, to shift the relationship and move it forward. But basically, I figured out that, you know, one of the reasons why I'm drawing in relationships that mimic my parents and the one I like grew up with is because that's all I knew. And and that was the energy I was putting out, because I'm also, you know, the way that I would have relationships with people is that I would just talk about my day, talk about my life, and then, you know, that be the or like talk about other things, you know, like talk about like the world around us and like commenting on it, and not really like getting to know other people through open-ended questions, you know. And I guess one of the ways that I like really wanted to get into sales too is because that is the basis of this career. It's to be successful in sales, you have to be really good at asking open-ended questions with genuine interest, and with, you know, there's a bit of a psychology behind it of like, okay, well, what sort of questions would I need to ask in order to, you know, get answers out of this person that would actually help me move, you know, the sales process forward, or to be able to understand what they're lacking or what their problems are, what they need, you know. And you can only find that out truly deeply is if you ask questions. And what I realized too is that you can't just ask the hard-hitting questions right away. You know, with some people you can do that because some people have that type of personality where they're just like super open. But then there are other personality types where you have to like, there's like a bit of lubrication that needs to happen first, you know, like they're okay, that sounded weird, but like there needs to be more like prep work, you know. There needs to be like building questions that lead to the big questions, more intimate questions. And so yeah, that's a whole ass skill set. That's a whole ass, like, you know, it's a whole thing. And I think honestly that could solve a lot of people's problems, I think, because now that I understand that a two-way conversation is like a really fulfilling one, is one where, you know, we're both engaged and asking open-ended questions, listening and then responding, and then asking another question, or whatever, you know, like there's a little formula to it. And ever since I've like understood there's this process, I can't really unsee it, you know. And what I constantly pick up is that, like, I'm putting in so much more, and I'm not saying this is across the board, you know, like I just find myself putting in more effort than other people, and I feel energetically drained when I'm not getting what I want to, you know, which is, as humans, we love to talk about ourselves. We love to, it's getting hot in here. Okay. As humans, we love to talk about ourselves, and we love to be asked questions. Like, don't you love to be asked questions? Like, if I just sat here and I was just like, you know, what makes you feel alive, you know? And that's just like, or anything about a topic that you're into, you know. And that's another key thing. It's, some people like open-ended questions that they're like about topics that they're into. I don't know, you know, like I yeah. And I feel like there's a lot of people who like also ask questions, but they're not open-ended. They're like yes, no answer, like, you know, they're questions that can be answered in like 1 or 2 words, maybe a sentence, and it doesn't really like have the power to create dialogue, you know. It like doesn't have the pow, so keep a conversation moving, and like doesn't like stimulate the mind. And I think that is, you know, that's one of the big reasons why I think there's so many people feel disconnected, you know. And additionally, I noticed there, a few years ago, I don't know why I just recalled this, but it was like maybe Christmas or Thanksgiving. I had my mom and my brother come up to my apartment, and we were playing cards. And while we were playing cards, I started asking some questions, you know. And they were, I think I asked them, like, if you had $1 million, right, what would you do with it, you know? And this is a pretty, you know, good open-ended question that like you can get creative with, and that you could go deep with it if you really wanted to. And so I remember my brother saying, oh, I would travel. And so then I, you know, pushed forward a little more to inquire, you know, get deeper. And I remember him getting like a little defensive, you know, a little defensive. He asked me like, why are you asking me these questions? And I think now I realize that I think people who don't know themselves well, or when they're, and here it like ties right back to the beginning, right? And I didn't even fucking plan this. I really didn't. But I think that when we don't have an awareness of self, about who we are, what we like, you know, what we don't like, what our passions are, what our goals for the future are, what we want to like, when we don't know ourselves, it creates maybe senses of like inferiority or like like whatever feelings that might like come up, like that don't feel very good, you know, like, oh, insecurity or whatever. When those feelings come up, it's from this like awareness of like, oh, I don't actually know myself, so I'm gonna get like, you know, it's like a automatic response of like, you know, why are you asking me this, like getting defensive because, you know, at the time. And yeah, so does that make sense? So I think one of the remedies to being able to have deeper, richer, more fulfilling interactions and connections with our friends and our families and our loved ones is to, one, ask more questions, open-ended questions, to be able to get to know each other more. But before we can really truly enjoy that process, we have to know ourselves. And in order for us to become aware of ourselves, we have to do introspection and like, yeah, have introspection of our lives and our experiences, and to really be with the things that we have done and have experienced, so that we can articulate it to other people, you know. And so then when the opportunity does come to, when people do ask us questions, we can answer with full certainty and like pride and confidence, and then we are naturally more engaged in that conversation. So then we can also ask other people, you know, the same, have that same back and forth, and be able to, I think that would be a really, that's one way of having deeper, richer, fuller connections, in my opinion. So all right, so we're at 38 minutes. I've been talking for almost an hour. So the sun's about to go down, and I'm going to sit outside and set an intention for the rest of my evening. And yeah, I'm really excited about this, and I'm just gonna post this. I'm not going to edit this. Yeah, it might look edited because this is actually the second video. Like, I had to stop it real quick because of some technical difficulties. But day one, first video, done. My name is Jennifer. My name's Jennifer, and I am excited to have this podcast, I guess. I don't know. I do know. I don't know what it's gonna be called, but I'll think about it. So yeah, beautiful people, thank you so much if you made it all the way through. Have a beautiful day.